Good morning, Knicks Nation. Today is Tuesday, the 17th day of February 2026. I hope you're all safe and healthy today. Hope your families are safe and healthy and that the needs of you and your family in terms of food, shelter, clothing, as well as health are being met today. Blessings upon those that work in the area of health who work closely with first responders who every day are risking their lives to comfort and save lives. Those also that pick up garbage to keep cities and towns clean. Those that make deliveries for our convenience. Double blessings on the men and women trying to help rescue, deliver, and recover teenagers and children, victims of child molestation and pedophilia. Those that are helping the people that are victims of prostitution, child prostitution, pornography, child pornography, human trafficking, and sex slavery. Double curses on all the perpetrators, profiteers, and perverts that create demands that causes this multi-billion-dollar industry to exist. Finally, double blessings on the homeless. More than 700,000 men, women, children, families, senior citizens, and military veterans homeless in the United States of America. Blessings upon them, for theirs is the kingdom. Today, I want to give a couple of shout outs. I don't always do this, but for what we're talking about today, it's appropriate. ABFV4MS. ABFV4MS. This is what he posted yesterday. He said the Knicks have elite 6'6" defensive wings. They can have elite 6'6" defensive wings on the court all 48 minutes. It's true, and it's really important, and it's going to be really powerful for the Knicks coming down the stretch. Also, my homeboy, my man, serial killer, he said, I'm looking forward to perhaps the best defensive lineup in the league. Again, it's true. Look, we got Wingstop, okay, OG and McCall, both two-way players, both defensive specialists, okay, both have been all defense in the NBA. And so those are our starters, okay? So in the starting lineup, you have those two, and then you have Hart, who's also a defensive wing, and he's not 6'6", but we don't have to explain how important he is, and at 6'4", what he does on the boards. Then you got the weaker links, which are Cat and Brunson. Now, I am seeing improvements in terms of the team defense of both Brunson and Cat. Brunson, because one-on-one, he definitely has a problem. And the Knicks try to mask that by keeping him in certain positions on the floor defensively. And then as a team, I've very much noticed the fight that he has showed to keep his opponents out the New York paint. He's not always successful, but the fight is what's important. Whereas when he first came to the Knicks, there were several plays where he just waved players by, okay? I don't see him doing that. And also, part of the function of him doing that wasn't always that he didn't care. Players like this, and I've mentioned this before with respect to Randle. When Julius Randle was on the Knicks, when he first came to the Knicks, and the Knicks sucked, before Thibodeau, he would conserve his energy for the offensive end of the floor. Not everybody can give full 48 minutes on both sides of the floor, defensively and offensively, successfully. Not all players could do that, put it that way. Randle wasn't one also. So he would conserve his energy for the offensive end of the floor and then look to get help defensively. And that would be a weakness for the Knicks, and it showed in our record when he played before Tibbs. When Tibbs came, not only was Randle forced to give more energy defensively, the Tibbs defensive system caused all 5 players on the floor together to bring a certain level of defensive standard that became now the trademark of the Knicks, the hallmark of the Knicks. Under Coach Brown, we have struggled in that area, partly due to schemes and also the 2 aforementioned players. Cat also spares his energy for the offensive end of the floor. But what he's been doing lately is really focusing on cleaning up the boards and being in position to clean up the boards. and he's leading the league in rebounding, but we have seen in the 10-2 stretch the Knicks he has had a couple of games where he was over 20 boards or 20 or more. So that's going to be big. Also, he needs to, and I think he understands this, improve on the pick and roll, because that's how Indiana beat us last year. Very simple. Halliburton and others on pick and roll defense, and then getting wide open threes out of pick and rolls and killing us with that. This year, the Knicks have done a tremendously better job, especially since Brown made the adjustments coming on the 2-11 stretch. And it's worked, because the Knicks have been basically the top defense in the league after that 2-11 stretch. They've been the top defense in the league, in that stretch of time, going 10-2. So they've been holding a lot of opponents under 100 points, and some even under 90. So it's really improved, and he has changed his schemes. Not going as much zone. And I was trying to tell, some of y'all kept crying for him to use zone. And I was telling you, weak teams use zone. Strong defensive teams don't need zone. Okay? When you start seeing teams go to zone, they desperate. And it doesn't work out well long term. You might go to it for a minute, literally, a possession or two, not much more than that. Okay? Because you're going to lose in the NBA, period. You go too much zone, you're going to lose. You got to be able to guard man-to-man. Now, with the team we got now, you're starting five. But then, coming off the bench, you got Sochan, Shamet, Diawara, Mitchell Robinson, Deuce McBride, and of course, Jose Alvarado. Now, Diawara, Sochan are those 6'8", both of them 6'8", 6'9" wings that are lockdown defenders. With Deuce and Shamet and Alvarado, you got scrappy, smaller dudes that can lock down defense and guard 94 feet. And of course, with Mitchell Robinson, you have the top offensive rebounder in the league and one of the top rim protectors in the league. Okay? And so when you bring that crew off the bench, and then you can intermingle them. You could have, of course, and we've seen the coach do this. I'm not just speaking theory. We've seen him put Deuce in with the starters. We've seen him put Shamet in with the starters. We've seen him have Brunson come out, Deuce come in, and the defense goes up 2 notches. So you can see that this works for a couple of reasons. Number one, it reduces the number of minutes you need to play Cat and Brunson. Like, I'm not saying reduce their minutes to 25 or something like that. I'm talking about you can play them no more than 30 minutes a game, and you're not losing anything on the defensive end of the floor. Now you might lose a little bit offensively. Obviously, you got an unstoppable 5 and the clutch player of the year at the point. You're gonna lose something offensively. But if you're going to gain defensively and you're going to be slightly off offensively, I think we'll be all right. Okay, it's not like you got to depend on that for like 48 minutes. You're talking about a second unit playing against the other team's second unit, and you're talking about having lockdown shooters, Deuce and Shamet, okay, and Diawara also. You're talking about having lockdown defenders and rebounders, Mitchell Robinson and Sochan, and all of them can get you 94 feet. And then Alvarado, I'm not saying he's going to hit 8 3-pointers every game, but I think in the Knicks system, he can become a 40% three-point shooter. See, when you get to 40% three-point shooting in the NBA, and you got a bunch of shooters like that, you lethal. You lethal, okay? The league average is about 36, 35. So that's the average. If you're shooting below that, like Sochan does, okay, you could leave him open. But look, I'm saying I believe that Alvarado could be a 40% three-point shooter on this team because of where he's playing and how the structure of the system. So you already got Deuce as a 40% shooter. You got Shamet that's a 40% shooter. Diawara is obviously going to be a 40% shooter because he's been knocking them down during this stretch. Then, of course, you got Cat, Brunson, OG, McCall, all of them in Hart. If they're not 40, they're close to 40, 37, 38, 39. You get a team of your rotation that can lock down on defense the way these cats can. and then knock down 40% of their threes, you're going to be tough. And the thing is, as I said, no defense, no bueno means, especially in the playoffs, the teams that win the chip are the ones that get the most stops. Yes, you can score a lot, but you ain't going to get over the mountaintop unless you can get stops at crunch time. But you got to get stops. In the playoffs and in the championship series, you got to get stops. If you can put together 3 stops in a row in the Eastern Conference Finals multiple times, you can win. Okay? Or in the finals, you can win. Because this is the key here. Even if you watch a regular season NBA game, you could tell who's going to win by one thing. Who's making shots with less effort? Who's using tremendous effort to make a shot? So like, if you got a guy and he's herky-jerky and he's doing all kind of moves and he uses up the clock like Brunson, and he gets a shot, nobody else is touching the ball, and if you can win that game, and he's working real hard to get that shot. But if you're catching Mikal on a back door, or you're throwing a full court pass and somebody's open, or you get a steal, or you come down and move the basketball and somebody's wide open and knocks down the 3, you're getting easier shots. That team is most likely going to win. They're going to have the easier shots and they're going to have more energy to get stops. That's how that works. See? And I could always tell, sometimes I'll turn on the game and it's already in progress. It's not necessarily the Knicks, but I'm watching one team struggle to score, and they might be still scoring, but they're using a lot of energy to do it, and the other team is getting easy baskets, and I said, that team's going to win. Because it's just the energy, they don't have to use as much energy to score, and they can put all their energy in getting stops. And that's why depth becomes very important. Which you look at the championship, Oklahoma City, they played 10 guys in the finals. And they were getting easy baskets, and they were getting stops. And they had guys from 1 through 10 that could play defense and help them get stops and then make the game easier on the other side by getting easy baskets. And that's where the Knicks are right now. See, that's why I believe Tibbs got fired. I mean, he was being stubborn, no doubt. I don't fault him for being stubborn. It's frustrating, but all great coaches are stubborn, so I don't worry about that. But the problem was that he refused to go deeper in his bench during the course of the year to prepare them for the playoffs. He was prepared for the playoffs with his starting 5, his first 7 or 8 guys, but he wasn't ready 10 deep. Mike Brown, to a fault, is going to use 10. And you can see it in the production and efficiency and execution because, like I said, he don't have to play Brunson 38 minutes, Hart 38 minutes. You don't have to do that. Mikal 40 minutes. He don't have to do that. He can play these guys less minutes. They're going to be more energetic on the defensive end of the floor. And when the focus, and this is what a lot of people is trying to argue me on, because some people just like to see themselves right. I ain't got time for that. But look, if you focus on moving the basketball, if that's the focus, you're going to create easy shots. Somebody was trying to argue with me talking about, well, Brunson needs, because he's the only one that can create his own shot. The reason he has to create his own shot is either it's the end of the shot clock because he's used it up and the ball is not moving. Okay? If the ball is moving, shots create themselves. Back doors open up. Wide open threes open up. Okay? And then you get guys in their office, like when Mikal Bridges gets the ball and he's moving to the top of the key. Not the key like the circle, but I'm saying the paint, top of the paint area near the foul line. That's his office. And he's going to hit 80% of them shots. Okay? And if the ball is moving and he could cut into that and get a wide open one of those, money. And in that regard, it's a lot like Havlicek. Havlicek used to do the same thing. Havlicek didn't take a lot of threes. It wasn't as big a deal in the NBA at that time. It was a bigger deal in the ABA, but not the NBA. And he used to get them shots the same way. He would run somebody to death, get to the open spot. They would find him the ball, and he had an easy 10-foot jump shot in the key. That was his office, okay? And that's the same with Mikal. You turn Mikal's game to the top of the notch when the ball is moving. He is usually not very good when he's got to create his own shot, as we're talking about. But if he's moving and the ball is moving and you catch him in movement, he is devastating on the offensive end. And if his head is in the game, he's devastating on the defensive end. So that's what you want. And it's the same. OG Anunoby's the same. And again, when Cat has the ball at the top of the key, he finds these cats, okay? And they all start looking for each other. So when the ball is moving, shots open up. They just become available. When the ball is not moving, guys got to create their shots. And that makes it more difficult for the offense. It makes it more difficult for the team. It makes it more difficult to win. Okay? Now, in the fourth quarter of games, after the teams have played 36 minutes already, that's when it's like having in football, it's like having a bruiser for a fullback, a running back, a guy that, you could stop him for 20 carries, but between carry 20 and carry 30, he's wearing the team out. Back in the day, that would be like a Larry Zonka, a John Riggins, guys like that. They wearing the defense out. They just so physical. That's Brunson in basketball. By the time you get to the fourth quarter, physicality has been what he's been playing with for 3 quarters. Then he's going to come at you. And now you're fatigued and you got to guard this cat. It's much harder, as we have seen. That's why he's Clutch Player of the Year. It's much harder in the fourth quarter. And that's where you want Brunson to be. Killing the opponent in the fourth quarter. Okay? And that's big time, big time, as we have seen. Ask Detroit in the playoffs. Big time in the fourth quarter. Okay? So, yeah, we got a squad because of the addition of Sochan, the addition of Alvarado. You got a whole 5-man team on the bench that can lock down opponents. Okay? And again, the starting unit has greatly improved since Brown has made adjustments. And I said, Jalen Brunson is really putting in the effort to keep, because that's the weakest thing to me for Brunson. Yes, if he gets posted up on the block, which a lot of teams try to do with him, naturally, that's it. He's done. But if you can keep him guarding whoever's trying to enter the paint from the top, that's the guarding the paint at the point of attack. That's where we're really getting killed, both in pick and roll and just straight guarding, like a Maxey or an Edgecombe from Philly. They're devastating when they get, everybody is in the NBA, but when they could get in the paint because of their speed, quickness, length, skill. But if you can fight to keep them out the paint, now what you're doing is they have to give the ball up, or they're going to use up the clock trying to fight to get that tough shot off. Either way, it works to our advantage. See, it works to our advantage. And that's, again, what makes Detroit so tough, because you got Cade, who is almost, he's 6'7", full 6'7", and he's long, and he gets in the paint almost at will. You can't hardly stop him. So what you want to do is you're going to have to double him to get the ball out of his hands, because he will kill you in the paint. And again, he's also a roughneck in the fourth quarter. He'll wear you down and wait till the fourth quarter and start going on you. That's why they tough. It's going to be interesting to see how this matchup goes, like I said yesterday, with the Knicks and Detroit. It's going to be interesting to see. Detroit is extremely similar to Oklahoma City in terms of how they use the personnel, in terms of the head of the snake and SGA and Cade, in terms of how they play, very similar. So this is going to be a way to see. Indiana was similar to OKC last year. Like I said, I don't know what would have happened if Halliburton didn't wreck his Achilles. But the way they use their personnel, the way they play defensive schemes, the depth of their bench, very similar in both teams. That's why I went 7 games. So the Knicks are now in that same category. They can go 10 deep. They got dependable guys, 1 through 10. They got the head of the snake in Brunson. No, he's not 6'8", 6'7", but I think we can understand that Brunson is very difficult to keep out the paint. That's one of the reasons he's so successful. The footwork that he puts forth gets him in the paint. And once anybody in the NBA gets in the paint, it's a wrap. Okay, and that's why the team that defends better and scores easier is going to win. Okay, you got to get stops and you got to get easy baskets. The Knicks are in a position to be able to do that. They were doing it before the break, before Sochan and Alvarado, but now here come these cats. So, and that, again, one more thing though, the key to that again is focusing offensively on moving the basketball. And in another translation, it's called playing the game the right way. That's what Larry Brown would call it, playing the right way. He's the one that brought that phrase up. I know Dean Smith at college did, but when it came to the pros, that was Larry Brown's mantra. And he would be very hard on all his point guards because he wanted them to pass the ball and play the right way. So one time, he was coaching the Knicks, and Nate Robinson came off the bench, went off, the Knicks won, and they would ask him, what about Nate Robinson? He said, yeah, human highlight film. For him to say that was a diss, because he's saying, I don't want to see individuals go off. I want to see the ball move. I want them to play the right way. Hence, this is where we at right now. And Brunson has been doing it. That's why they're winning. Okay, so here we go. Here come Detroit. Let's get this on. Like I said yesterday, it's going to be fun. So, but we got a team, just like my brother said, I'm looking forward to perhaps the best defensive lineup in the league. And like other boys said, we got 6'6" dudes that can come at you 48 minutes. We can just keep sending them. One after another with no break. Okay. We got 2 in the starting unit. We got 2 in the bench. And then we got these little pain in the neck guards that's going to also be annoying to everybody with Deuce, Shamet, and they're going Alvarado. This is going to be fun. Y'all enjoy your Tuesday. So